F. There comes a time in the life of every empath when the mirror shatters, when you realize that the kindness you have poured into others has not always returned to you, but instead has been taken, consumed, and drained until only fragments remain. For years, you may have told yourself, this is love, this is compassion, this is the noble price of understanding the human soul. But I tell you, there is a difference between the sacred act of giving and the slow erosion of the self. Many of you sitting here have been trained by life, by circumstance, even by your own heart, to be a constant source of light for others. And yet, in the shadows of your generosity, there are those who thrive on that light, who take it without gratitude, without reciprocity, without ever intending to replenish what they draw from you. This is not merely emotional exhaustion, it is a quiet theft of the soul. If you continue down this path without awareness, the day will come when you look into the depths of your own spirit and find it dimmed, not by time, not by fate, but by the silent feeding of those who saw your light as theirs to consume. Today, I will show you how to recognize them, how to guard the sacred flame within you, and how to give without being devoured. If you have ever felt that your deepest compassion has become someone else's endless feast, then this message is not merely for you. It is for the survival of your very essence. Listen closely, for this is not a warning to frighten you, but a call to awaken the protector within your own soul. There is an invisible world that lives alongside the one you see with your eyes, a world of quiet exchanges, of subtle currents that move between human beings without a single word being spoken. Most pass through life unaware of it, blind to the silent language of energy. But for you, it is as real as the air you breathe. You walk into a room and feel the shift before anyone has spoken. You sense the tension that lingers in the walls, the sadness hidden behind a smile, the weariness in someone's laugh. You carry this gift like a second skin, and yet it is this very sensitivity that often becomes the opening through which your light is taken. You do not notice it at first. How could you? The exchange feels natural. Someone confides in you, shares their pain, and you, moved by the depth of their suffering, lean in with your heart wide open. You listen not only to their words, but to the unspoken cries beneath them. And because you feel so deeply, you give without thought, without measure. You offer your time, your energy, your emotional presence, as if you have an endless supply. But here is the truth you may not want to face. Your light is not infinite. And there are those who, whether knowingly or unconsciously, will take it until there is little left for yourself. It is in the subtleties that you begin to recognize it. The friend who always feels lighter after speaking to you, yet you feel inexplicably heavier. The relative who calls you only when their life is in chaos, yet disappears when yours is. The colleague who leans on your kindness to cushion their failures, but never extends the same when you falter. These are not always malicious people. Sometimes they are simply unaware. But unawareness does not lessen the cost to you. Energy given without replenishment is energy lost. And over time, even the brightest soul begins to fade. You may tell yourself this is your role in the world, that you were born to help, to heal, to carry what others cannot. And yes, there is truth in that. But there is also a truth far more uncomfortable, that your ability to absorb the pain of others is not always a gift, but can become a silent surrender of your own vitality. It is like a candle burning in the wind. Every flicker you give away must come from the wax of your own being. If you do not guard it, you will burn down to nothing while still trying to keep others warm. The most dangerous part is how quiet this process is. There are no alarms, no sudden collapse. Instead, it is a gradual dimming. Your joy feels muted, your passions less alive, your rest never quite enough. You begin to feel a constant undercurrent of exhaustion, yet you cannot pinpoint why. You may even believe something is wrong with you, that you are somehow weaker than before. But it is not weakness, it is depletion. And depletion is the slow death of the spirit. When you are deeply attuned to the emotional states of others, you carry their energy as if it were your own. Their anger churns in your chest. Their grief settles into your bones. Their anxiety hums in your mind long after the conversation has ended. And because you have learned to survive with this weight, you do not always notice how much heavier you have become. You simply adjust your stride, convince yourself you are fine, and keep going until one day you are not. There are people whose presence feels like a winter without sun. You enter their orbit, and though you offer warmth, it never truly reaches them. They absorb it, yes, but they do not hold it. They let it vanish into the void inside them, and so they must keep coming back for more. This is not your failure. It is the nature of those who have not learned to create their own light. They survive by finding others to illuminate their path, often without realizing the cost to the giver. But you feel it, you always feel it. You may think that awareness alone will protect you, but it will not. Awareness is only the first step. It is the decision to act on that awareness that saves you. You must begin to notice the patterns, the way you feel before and after certain interactions, the shift in your own mood and energy when certain people enter your space. If you feel consistently drained, if you find yourself dreading the next conversation, if you notice your own needs shrinking in importance so theirs can take center stage, you have already begun to give away more than you can afford. This is not a call to close yourself off, to harden your heart, or to become suspicious of everyone you meet. It is a call to discernment. It is the understanding that your light is not public property, that it is a sacred resource meant to sustain not only others, but yourself. There is a profound difference between sharing your light and being the constant fuel for someone else's fire. One nourishes both. The other depletes you until you no longer remember what it feels like to shine for yourself. If you are to survive as an empath without being consumed, you must learn to feel without always absorbing, to listen without always carrying, to love without always losing yourself. This requires a quiet but unshakable shift in the way you move through the world. It means pausing before you say yes, allowing yourself the right to decline, and trusting that those who truly value you will understand. It means asking yourself not only what they need from me, but what will remain of me when I give it. In the end, the ones who truly deserve your light are not the ones who take it endlessly, but those who reflect it back to you. They are the ones who see the value in what you give, who protect it, who nourish it, who remind you that you are more than just a source of healing. You are a soul that needs to be healed too. And so, if you recognize yourself in these words, if you feel the quiet truth of them settling into your bones, understand this: your light was never meant to be an endless buffet for the hungry, but a sacred flame to guide the worthy. Guard it well. The cost of constant giving is rarely paid in a single moment. It is extracted over time, quietly, patiently, until one day you realize that something within you has been diminished. For the empath, this process often feels invisible because giving has never been an obligation. It has been a natural extension of who you are. You do not give because you must. You give because you cannot imagine doing otherwise. And yet, it is precisely this unguarded generosity that makes you most vulnerable to depletion. Every time you pour yourself into someone's pain, a piece of your own energy flows with it. Every sleepless night spent thinking of another's struggles, every long conversation where you anchor someone else's storms, every moment you hold the weight they cannot bear, it all takes from you. At first, you hardly notice. You tell yourself, I am strong enough, I can handle this. And perhaps you can for a while. But strength without replenishment is like drawing water from a well that is never refilled. Eventually, it runs dry. You begin to notice subtle shifts within yourself. Your patience, once endless, now feels strained. Your mind, once filled with curiosity and light, feels clouded. Even your body begins to respond. Fatigue that lingers no matter how much you rest, a heaviness in your chest, a constant undercurrent of stress that hums quietly beneath the surface. And still, you keep giving because you fear that to stop would be selfish, that to pull back would be a betrayal of the very compassion you hold dear. But here lies the truth. There is nothing noble about destroying yourself in service to others. There is nothing virtuous about allowing your soul to be worn thin, your joy to be eroded. your light to be dimmed, all in the name of care, when you give without limits, without boundaries, without ensuring that you are sustained in return. You do not just harm yourself, you harm the very relationships you are trying to preserve. For what can you truly offer when you are running on empty? What depth of presence can you bring when your own spirit is atching for rest? The hidden cost of constant giving is not only exhaustion, but also the quiet loss of self. Little by little, your own needs slip further down the list of priorities. The hobbies you once loved gather dust. The goals you once cherished fade into the background. Your dreams wait patiently in the shadows, convinced that one day you will return for them. But the more you give away your energy without replenishment, the less strength you have to reclaim them. And so you begin to live not as the architect of your own life, but as the caretaker of everyone else's. Some will take and take without pause, not always from malice, but from habit. If you have always been the one who listens, who fixes, who shows up without fail, then they will come to expect it. They will believe you are limitless because you have never shown them otherwise. And so, without intention, they begin to see your giving not as a gift, but as a given. The danger is not only that they take too much, but that they never even consider the cost to you. You must remember, your energy is not a resource to be mined endlessly. It is not an open reservoir for the world to draw from without consequence. When you give without protecting yourself, you are teaching others how to treat you. If you never show the edges of your capacity, they will never learn to honor them. If you never voice your own needs, they will never think to ask what they are. This is not because people are inherently cruel. It is because human nature often assumes that what is freely given is endlessly available. The cycle of over-giving is self-perpetuating. The more you give, the more people lean on you. The more they lean, the more you believe it is your duty to hold them. And somewhere along the way, you begin to equate your worth with your usefulness. You start to believe that if you stop giving, you will no longer be valued. This is the cruelest cost of all. The way constant giving can erode not only your energy, but your sense of self-worth. But you are not valuable because of what you provide. You are valuable because of who you are, your presence, your essence, your being. These are not defined by your ability to carry others. They are defined by the light you hold within, and that light cannot survive if it is endlessly siphoned away. There will be those who cannot see you apart from what you give to them, and it will hurt when you realize that their affection, their attention, their closeness may be tethered more to your usefulness than to your true self. But this realization is necessary. It allows you to see clearly which connections are built on mutual respect and which are sustained only by your continual sacrifice. It is a difficult truth to face, But the people who truly love you will never want you to deplete yourself for them. They will not ask you to silence your own needs so theirs can always come first. They will care for your well-being as fiercely as you care for theirs. These are the relationships worth investing in, those where giving flows in both directions, where light is exchanged, not consumed. So you must ask yourself, what is the true cost of your giving? Does it nourish both you and them, or does it leave you feeling smaller, dimmer, less alive? Is it born from love and choice, or from obligation and fear? The answers may be uncomfortable, but they will guide you toward a life where your empathy is a gift you can give without losing yourself in the process. When you understand the hidden cost of constant giving, you are faced with a choice. You can continue to give without limit, allowing your own light to dim in the service of others. Or you can begin to give from a place of balance, ensuring that what you offer comes from abundance, not depletion. Only one of these paths will allow you to keep your light alive for the years to come. If you are to preserve your soul, you must learn this now. Your light cannot save anyone if it is extinguished in the process of trying. It is a beautiful thing to be compassionate, to feel deeply for another human being, and to act on that feeling with kindness. Compassion is the bridge between souls, the quiet acknowledgement that we are all walking through life carrying burdens, some visible, some hidden. But there is a point at which compassion can cross an unseen threshold and transform into something far more dangerous: self-sacrifice. And the difference between the two is subtle enough that many never notice when they have crossed it. Compassion is rooted in strength. It is the choice to extend your light toward another without diminishing your own flame. It honors both your humanity and theirs. Self-sacrifice, however, often comes from a place of fear or conditioning, the belief that your needs must always come second. That love must be earned through service. That saying no is an act of betrayal. It masquerades as generosity, but in truth, it is an erosion of self. You may have been taught, perhaps from an early age, that good people give without question. That love is measured by how much you can endure for someone else's sake. Maybe you witnessed it in your family, someone always bending, always breaking themselves a little to keep the peace, to hold everything together. And perhaps you believed that this was what it meant to love, to be loyal, to be worthy. But love that requires you to diminish yourself is not love in its truest form. It is dependency disguised as devotion. When compassion becomes self-sacrifice, the act of giving stops being a choice and starts becoming a compulsion. You say yes when you want to say no. You agree to carry more when your arms are already full. You suppress your own needs, your own dreams, your own rest, because somewhere inside you fear that if you do not, you will lose the approval or affection of those around you. This is not the language of compassion. It is the language of survival learned in environments where love was conditional. The danger of living this way is that it becomes so familiar you no longer see it for what it is. You begin to call it strength, resilience, devotion. You wear your exhaustion like a badge of honor, convincing yourself that it means you are good, that you are needed, that you have purpose. But in truth, this path slowly strips you of the very essence that made you capable of compassion in the first place. You cannot offer warmth when you have allowed yourself to grow cold. True compassion does not ask you to betray yourself. It does not demand that you silence your voice so another can speak, that you ignore your hunger so another can eat, that you abandon your path so another can walk theirs. Compassion understands balance. It knows that to give in a healthy way, you must also receive. Self-sacrifice ignores this truth entirely, convincing you that your worth is tied to how much of yourself you can lose for someone else's gain. The line between the two often becomes visible in how you feel after an act of giving. When you are compassionate in a balanced way, you may feel tired, but it is the satisfying exhaustion of having done something meaningful without betraying yourself. When you are sacrificing yourself, however, the exhaustion is laced with resentment, bitterness, or a hollow sense of invisibility. You may not even admit these feelings at first because they seem to contradict the image of the selfless giver you believe you must be. But they are there, quietly eroding your spirit. It is worth asking, why do you give the way you do? Is it because your heart is moved to do so, or because you fear what will happen if you don't? Is it because you see the other person's worth, or because you are trying to prove your own? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are the keys to understanding whether you are acting from compassion or from self-sacrifice. There is also the matter of boundaries, those invisible lines that define where you end and another person begins. Compassion thrives within boundaries. Self-sacrifice dissolves them entirely. Without boundaries, you take on responsibilities that are not yours to carry, emotions that are not yours to heal, consequences that are not yours to face. You step into the lives of others so completely that you begin to disappear from your own. And the tragedy is many will allow you to do it, even come to expect it, without ever realizing the cost to you. You must learn that it is not cruel to have limits. It is not unkind to say, I cannot give more right now. It is not selfish to step back when the giving begins to harm you. In fact, it is an act of compassion, not only for yourself, but for the other person as well. For when you give beyond your capacity, you eventually reach a place where you are offering something hollow, something empty, something that lacks the true presence and love that genuine compassion carries. It takes courage to stand in that space and choose balance over depletion. It takes strength to let go of the need to be the savior in every situation, to recognize that others have their own capacity to grow, to struggle, to heal, without you carrying them through every step. Sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do is to step aside, to allow someone to face the discomfort that will lead them to their own strength. You are not here to bleed yourself dry so others may drink. You are here to share your light in a way that sustains it. You are here to walk alongside others, not to drag them while they refuse to move. When you remember this, compassion becomes a shared journey, not a one-sided surrender. So let the lines be clear in your heart. Give when it comes from abundance, not when it requires the quiet killing of your own spirit. Love without losing yourself. Care without carrying what is not yours. And remember, compassion is an act of connection, but self-sacrifice, when left unchecked, is an act of disappearance. If you vanish in the act of giving, then what you have offered is no longer compassion, but the slow undoing of your own soul. There is a fear that many who feel deeply carry within them. The fear that if they protect themselves, they will become cold, distant, or unloving. It is the fear that boundaries will be seen as rejection, that saying no will be mistaken for cruelty, that guarding one's light will dim it. And yet, the truth is the opposite. Protecting your light is not an act of shutting down the heart. It is an act of preserving it so it may continue to shine without being consumed. You have likely been told at some point in your life that your empathy, your openness, your ability to be there for others is what makes you special. And it is true. These qualities are rare, precious, and deeply needed in a world so often starved for genuine care. But without protection, these very qualities can be used against you, not always by intention, but by the nature of human hunger for warmth. When someone finds a light that soothes them, they may return to it again and again, forgetting that the flame needs tending. And if you are not careful, you may become so focused on keeping others warm that you forget to shield yourself from the wind that threatens to snuff you out. Protecting your light begins with a shift in understanding. You are not closing your heart when you choose discernment. You are ensuring that what you give is given from a place of truth, not exhaustion. It is not love to allow yourself to be diminished. It is love to offer what is genuine, sustainable, and alive. The strongest hearts are not those that give endlessly until they collapse. They are the ones that give wisely, that know when to step forward and when to step back, that can say yes with joy and no without guilt. One of the greatest misconceptions about kindness is that it must be unconditional in all contexts. But unconditional kindness without discernment is not kindness. It is exposure. It leaves you open to those who will take without thought, those who will drain without replenishment, those who see your openness as an invitation to consume rather than to connect. The truth is that your heart can remain open while your gates remain guarded. You can choose who enters your inner circle without hardening yourself against the rest of the world. This is not selfishness. This is stewardship of your soul. The act of protecting your light requires deep self-awareness. It means noticing the patterns in how you feel after you spend time with certain people. It means paying attention to the subtle changes in your energy, your mood, your clarity. If you leave an interaction feeling heavier, dimmer, or somehow smaller than you were before, it is a sign that the exchange is taking more than it gives. And while occasional imbalance is part of life, a constant drain is not something you can afford to ignore. This is where boundaries become essential. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. A wall shuts out the world entirely, but a filter allows in what nourishes and keeps out what harms. Without them, you risk becoming an open vessel into which anyone can pour their fears, demands, and needs without ever considering yours. With them, you can still love, still care, still give, but in a way that does not hollow you out in the process. Some will resist when you begin to protect your light. They may accuse you of changing, of becoming selfish, of withholding, and in a way, they are right. You have changed. You have stopped giving at the expense of yourself. You have stopped allowing your worth to be defined by your usefulness. Those who truly value you will adapt to this change. Those who only valued what they could take from you may fall away. This can be painful, but it is also a necessary clearing, a way of making space for relationships built on mutual respect and nourishment. Protecting your light also means nurturing it. It means tending to the parts of you that bring you joy, seeking out the places and people that replenish you, honoring your need for solitude when the world feels heavy. It means remembering that you are not just a source of light for others. You are a being who needs light yourself. The sun does not apologize for setting each night. It knows that in the darkness, it gathers the strength to rise again. You too are allowed to rest, to step back, to gather yourself so you can return with warmth that is real and unforced. There is a quiet strength in the person who can give without being emptied, who can open their heart without letting it be trampled, who can remain compassionate without being consumed. This is the kind of strength that allows you to be a constant light in the world, not a flare that burns brightly for a moment and then disappears, but a steady flame that endures. To achieve this, you must let go of the idea that saying no is unloving, that prioritizing your well-being is selfish, that protecting yourself is the same as shutting others out. The world needs your empathy. It needs your compassion, your insight, your light, but it does not need you to be broken in order to give it. The greatest service you can offer is to remain whole, to shine not because you are burning yourself away, but because you are alive, vibrant, and rooted in your own strength. Those who seek only to take will not understand this, but those who are meant to walk beside you will not only understand, they will honor it. And so, protect your light not with fear, but with wisdom. Guard it not to keep love out, but to ensure that love flows in ways that give as much as they take. Keep your heart open, but keep your hands on the gates. Let your compassion be vast, but let it also be discerning. In doing so, you will not only keep your light alive, you will ensure it continues to illuminate not just the path for others, but the path for yourself as well. For the light that is guarded well is the light that will never go out.